Are you looking to expand your aesthetic practice and attract high-quality new patients? Discover the power of digital marketing in growing your practice with a personalized strategy session. Join Ryan Davies, Equa's marketing director, for an exclusive 90-minute meeting. Ryan and his team will invest hours prior to your session crafting a customized marketing plan tailored specifically for your practice. This invaluable opportunity comes at no cost to you, with no commitments attached. Schedule your meeting with Ryan today by visiting www.businessofesthetics.org/MSM and take the first step towards transforming your practice with the potential of digital marketing.
You're invited to join our exclusive monthly webinar brought to you by the Business of Aesthetics community. Don't let this chance slip through your fingers. Secure your spot now for a game-changing experience. Explore the details on our homepage at www.businessofesthetics.org and get set to transform your strategies.
You are listening to another episode of the Business of Aesthetic podcast series brought to you by our gold sponsor, Equa Marketing. If you would like to network and share your experience with our podcast guests and other aesthetic industry professionals, join our Facebook or LinkedIn communities by searching for Business of Aesthetics. Prepare to be inspired as we introduce Ryan Davies, an esteemed professional and seasoned digital marketing advisor at Equa.com, renowned for his expertise in sales and marketing psychology. Ryan possesses a wealth of experience collaborating with companies and political campaigns. He profoundly understands the intricacies of consumer behavior and how it influences purchasing decisions. As a certified Sandler sales and challenger expert, he brings a unique perspective, employing innovative sales techniques that drive tangible results. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Welcome to another captivating installment of the Business of Aesthetics podcast. I'm Ryan Davies, your co-host at the heart of the Business of Aesthetics community and podcast. Before we immerse ourselves in the riches of today's episode, I want to express my profound gratitude to all of you, our incredible listeners from across the United States and all corners of the globe. Your willingness to embrace and share this podcast and your invaluable insights and experience have collectively transformed our community into a thriving epicenter of wisdom and innovation. Your unwavering dedication is the cornerstone of our success, and we cannot thank you enough. It allows us to bring you incredible guests that are going to give us topics to talk about. This is one that, as I've mentioned on the podcast and even in other areas of my life where I'm helping with marketing and business plans, this may be the question that I'm getting the most. From concept to clientele, the journey of establishing aesthetics membership plans. And I have one of my favorite guests. We've done lots together before and an absolute expert in this, Jordan Harmon, joining me today. Jordan, thank you so much for shedding some light on this for, I'm just going to be selfish, mostly me, but for all of our listeners as well.
Thank you
A
for
little bit of, oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Jordan. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just excited to dive in, as if you could tell. Jordan, a little bit about Jordan Harmon, an advanced registered nurse practitioner with the Palo Alto County Health System in Iowa. In her role, she brings a wealth of knowledge and dedication to patient care, has an extremely strong educational background from Simmons University, really focused on providing high quality healthcare services to the community. As the owner of Med Spa Express in Pocahontas, Iowa, she has really brought, a profound appreciation for what she does to the people in the area, driving her commitment to improving the health and well-being of the residents. Through her role as an ARNP, she is honored to contribute to the health system's mission of delivering compassionate and comprehensive healthcare services to individuals and families throughout the region. And we're going to even talk about the creative ways in which she's able to do it for people that may not even have full access or didn't think they had full access to it. Jordan, I'm so excited, as you can tell. I've already got this pain smile on my face. I don't think it's going to come off through this episode, but tell us a little bit about yourself that I didn't cover there and, your aesthetics journey before we jump into the membership plan itself.
Sure. So I actually started in 2019. So I graduated FNP school in 2018. Got my first job out of NP school working for Mayo Clinic up in Minnesota. And so I worked there for about a year and a half. And while I was there, one of my friends that I went to school with happened to be like, hey, we should do this CME course that's Botox and filler. I think that'd be fun. I was like, hey, yeah, that sounds great. So off we went. We did the course. And while I was there, the instructor was like, hey, like, you're really good at this. And I was like, I am? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So went about my day, got through that course, and then my wheels just kind of kept turning. I'm like, oh, that was really fun. I really liked doing that. What could come from this? And, initially, since I was a new grad, my student loans were obviously weighing on me, like, holy cow, I have all this debt that I have to pay off. So, what initially started as I took about 6 more private trainings and then opened my business was basically I was like, hey, this is fun. It's something that I can do that doesn't feel like work. And like, maybe I can pay my student loans off faster. So that's originally how I started, actually. I ended up opening my business back home. Just because we knew that that's kind of where we were going to be on the weekends. And we knew that eventually before we had children, my husband and I wanted to kind of be back in our area. And so we opened in May of 2019. So almost 5 years ago, exactly. And started just with injectables. And I was basically just doing it on the weekends. Well, then I got a job offer with Palo Alto County Health Systems back home. And so I worked there 4 days a week. So I would do my aesthetics on the side 1 day during the week and then 1 to 2 days on the weekends. So did that for about 3 years. And like I said, COVID really just like kind of boomed my business, actually, which is really odd to say and almost makes me feel a little guilty because I know there were a ton of small business owners that didn't survive COVID. I happened to be pregnant with my first child during COVID. And so they were like, I really don't want you, doing your aesthetics thing. Your hands are in people's mouths. And we don't really know what this could do to the baby or your pregnancy. So like, it's better that you just see healthy people and kind of like leave that to the side for right now. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Had my son in September, was due to go back in family medicine in December. So decided to go back into my med spa in November, and I had like 50 new clients. And like at this point, I had never really advertised at all other than like my grand opening, and I had a Facebook page, and literally that was it. So all of these people, like how I started my business, were basically just word of mouth referrals. I treated Susie and she loved it. And then she told her sister and her mom and her aunt and her friend and her cousin. And then pretty soon they all came, right? Which is great. That's the best way to build a business, in my opinion. But it was never really my intention to do this full time. It just like came to me, I guess. And I know that that's super cliche to say, but that's truly what happened. And when I had all these people come in, I'm like, holy cow, okay, like maybe I really could do this, And so at that time, when I decided to go back to work, I was really contemplating like, maybe I should just go back part-time and do this a little more to like get a bigger feel for it, see how busy I am if I'm doing this, 2 to 3 days a week versus, 1, and kind of go from there. Well, ended up going part-time, and I was like, if I'm going to do this, I really should probably start advertising. So I partnered with a marketing company, and holy buckets, it skyrocketed again, more than I had ever assumed. And so at that point I was like, all right, I probably really need to do this. I talked to one of my good friends in this industry. She's been in this industry a really long time. Her name's Amanda Kurtz. She's from Missouri. And she kind of took me under her wing throughout this whole process. And she's like, you're still doing family medicine. And I was like, yeah, I'm scared. I'm terrified to take that leap. You go from a, steady, consistent income to like a big question mark, basically. And she's like, numbers don't lie. Look at these numbers. Like, you're literally losing money by not doing this full time. And I was like, okay. So I talked to my husband, and he's like, all right, like, let's do it. And I was like, okay. So I put in my notice and said, hey, like, I'm going to have to be done in January. So in January of 21 is when we decided to go full time. We had purchased a building back in September. My husband does construction and completely gutted it and renovated it into the beautiful space that it is today. And we have been there ever since. We actually are in the works of, we're starting to a new build next year. Because we have substantially outgrown our space. So yeah, that's kind of how my journey started, I guess.
That's incredible. That's amazing. And, I think when we kind of chatted before this, and again, we've chatted before today, and we were talking about some of the things that you had put into place to really enable that, like you said, quell those fears and put that consistency in place. One of those huge pieces is the membership plan that you have. And I know you don't call it a membership plan necessarily. We're using that as a generic term, and we can kind of cover that a little bit about the strategies behind it. But tell us a little bit about, what a membership plan really is, what the benefits are, and what prompted you to start one.
Sure. So, initially, when I started full time in 2021, I brought my patient panel was 150 patients. Um, I had recruited my sister, who is a massage therapist and esthetician, to join me. And so it was the two of us just starting out. And so she has a fairly decent massage clientele and facial clientele, but she was just doing that on the side. And so with this, we were able to, do things together and basically kind of like share patients back and forth. And so when I was talking to her, I'm like, we have to find something so that we have like some consistency. Cause we'd have some days where we were super, super busy. And then we'd have other days where it's like, it's kind of slow, is, as a as someone who's going all in, you go through those roller coasters of emotions, right? Where it's like, oh my gosh, we were so busy. I didn't have any openings. I barely had time to pee today. It was great. And then you go through the other emotion where it's like, oh my gosh, we only saw 5 people today and the phone didn't really ring. And oh my gosh, there's not very many people on the schedule tomorrow. What are we going to do? You go through the ebbs and flows of, being a new business and starting a clientele and those kinds of things. And it's
Yeah.
scary. And so we're like, how can we guarantee some consistent income monthly, as well as guarantee that we are going to get people religiously coming back in the door? And so by this time in 2020, I bought my first 2 devices. Fast forward to now, and I now have 8. And so obviously one was bringing on new services that people were interested in. So that was one way to, get people in the door. But the other way was, okay, how can we make sure that they're going to keep coming back? How can we entice them to come in monthly? And that's where the membership program kind of blossomed from. So we've done it both ways. When I originally started, which this way I do not recommend, we originally started by, signing people up. We had the paperwork, they signed it. It's a 1-year commitment. After that, you can opt out anytime, but you have to sign up for 1 year for the first time you sign up. That's the only catch, if you will. And when we did this, you, depending on which tier you got, so we have a bronze, a silver, and a gold. So our bronze tier is $99 a month. That gets you $2 off per unit of talks. And then it also gets you 3 free facials a year. So the reason we did this was because we were trying to build Jada's clientele, right? Because at that point I had more clients than she did. So it was a great way to get more people going to her, as well as get them in the door. Then you go to the next tier, which is our silver tier. That one gets you, it's $199 a month. That gets you $2 off per unit of talks. It gets you 3 free facials a year, but then it also gives you $100 off $50 off your second syringe of filler. And then it also gives you 5% off skincare. So it's another way like, oh, yes, they're going to come in, they're going to get their facials, but then we can make sure that they're using good quality skincare too, so that they have even better results. Then you go up to our gold tier, which is $299 a month, which some people looked at me like I was absolutely insane, but I'm like, look what you get for this amount. So you get all of the same things in tier 2 or the silver tier, but then you also get basically 10% off of all of our services that we offer, which is a very big saving. So whether it's RF microneedling, body contouring, laser services, whatever it may be, they're getting that much of a discount. And we did it as a beauty bank. So that monthly fee that you pay goes into a little, what we call your express wallet. Okay. And that money is able to be used towards any products or services at our facility at any time. You just have to have the money in there to be able to use it, obviously. And so originally when we first started this, we were manually running people's cards on the same day every month. So at first when we had, 10 members, this wasn't a big deal. But then pretty soon we were up to like 30 and 40 and we're like, oh my God, how are we going to keep this straight? And that's when we're like, okay, we really have to do something. So at that point, it was like, either we need to switch to an EMR that does this and can, track memberships for us, or we need to develop some kind of app or whatever. And so that is where we ended up going with the option of Repeat MD. So Repeat MD is a company that's fairly well known in the industry. Some people love them, some people hate them. I happen to be very thankful for them. I personally believe it's all about how you use that tool to be successful. You can't sign up for something like that and think like, oh, I am paying this much money a month and like, this is just going to make me money. You got to nurture it just like you do anything else, right? You're going to get out of it what you put into it. And so we ended up joining with Repeat MD. And the whole reason that even happened was because I had bought mSculpt Neo. And at that point in time, BTL kind of had like a contract with them where they're like, hey, if you buy this device, we'll give you 6 months free with this company. And I'm like, oh my God, they do memberships. This is like the answer I've been looking for. So they kind of set us up with the memberships. They offer some different marketing materials, which was super helpful. And then we got to do like a trial run for 6 months, right? And, in that amount of time, we had like almost doubled our memberships and we're like, okay, this is totally worth it for us. Yep. And so that's kind of the route that, our membership program took, and we're still riding that wave today. We have close to 100 members now, which I know doesn't seem necessarily like a lot, but I always have to bring people back to reality that I'm in a town of 1,800. So like I'm in a very rural area. People are driving 1 to 2 to 4 hours to see me because I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. So
I think that speaks volumes, though, in the fact, like you said, this is you're drawing from a wide radius because of your membership plan does a lot from that perspective. B, it keeps them coming back because they're invested. And C, you've got kind of that renewable revenue stream that's coming in now that you can count on that monthly basis where hey, this is already a lot of the pressure off because we know what's coming in and we're going to have people coming and we're going to have the rooms occupied and all of that sort of stuff. With all of that in mind, I'm sure there's a lot of our listeners who are going, okay, I see the benefits. I've understood kind of like how you can position it. That very first thought of designing a membership plan. That's probably that, I want one. Now what? What were the key factors you considered and how did you come up with your, again, your bronze, silver, gold tiers? Was it something that you've done once and was like, perfect, nailed it? Or is it something that's been sort of a process over time and making sure that it's the right fit?
Shockingly enough, we have not changed anything on our membership program.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Yeah.
We have added more discounts for people. So, when we get more devices and things like that, then, the gold tier gets more bang for their buck, right? But as far as like having to take things away because it wasn't cost effective or things like that, I haven't had that issue, thankfully. But I will say, when you're developing a membership, it's really important that you know your numbers. You have to sit down and say, okay, what's my cost of goods? What am I paying this person hourly to do this procedure that, I'm allowing discounted or for free? What am I actually profiting from that? And does this make financial sense for me and my business? And if it doesn't, you can't do it. I see way too many people with memberships that they're trying to give away everything but the kitchen sink. And it's like, that sounds really great. And you probably have a lot of members, but like, are you actually profiting from that? Because if you're not, not really a great idea.
Right? Yeah. Consumers are pretty smart. Clients are pretty smart. They know that if they see a membership plan where they go, well, wait a minute, I'm basically, this is way better for me to go here. You're going to get that one, like you said, almost abused in that sense and be like, well, everyone's signing up for it. I'm not making anything from it. Did you have like a target in mind? Like, and again, you don't have to share the exact number, but were you like, look, this needs to be my profit margin off of it. This is how many I'm hoping to get from each tier, things like that.
So like my staff and I, so again, it started out with me and then me and my sister, and now we have a team of 5 of us. And so like we have monthly goals. And so I always tell them our monthly goals are to get 5 new members a month. part of the reason my requirement is that these people have to sign up for a year membership is because, don't get me wrong, I've had people that are like, oh, can I sign up for this month to get this discount and then cancel it? No.
Yeah.
Like, what? That would not make financial sense for me, you know?
Right.
But I always tell my employees, I'm like, look, our goal with the memberships is we want all of our necessary operations, whatever we need to function and run on a regular basis, covered by these memberships, so that everything that we else we make on top of this is money that we have in the bank, so that we can, continue to grow our practice, so that we can build a new building, so that we can buy a new device, so that we can give people raises, those kinds of things. And so I think in this industry, it's really easy for people, especially outsiders, to look at how much things cost and be like, oh my gosh, she has to be making millions because look at how expensive these services is. And it's like, if you only knew the cost of goods that we have and like the overhead that we
Right.
have. I mean, like these machines are the prices of houses, very nice
Yes,
houses.
that's the exact analogy I was going to give. You could live in a very nice house, or you could have a laser sitting in the corner, right? Like, I don't think people put that together of
No.
what it is. And when that thing's collecting dust in the corner, it's like buying a house and leaving it vacant. It's the same mentality of, well, why would you ever do something like that, right? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. So yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy from that perspective. And yeah, I guess that's why it's so important from that pricing structure point of taking all of them into consideration. And you mentioned too, right? When you started to when you are now, when you started, it's different if you're the person who's delivering the services. Then you add somebody else. And like you said, great to ramp up their business. But as you continue to add team members, that number changes, right? So that's where that evaluation, like you said, with new technologies, are you consistently, like, again, you haven't changed the pricing or potentially the offering very much, but are you always going back and having to do that? Okay, let's just check the math again. Are we still good here? Like, what's your process on that one?
Yeah, I mean, generally, I just look at it I would say probably quarterly to twice a year. And I'm like, okay, with what we've added, like where are we sitting financially? And like, that's when I look and say, okay, can we add this to be discounted for like our gold members or not? And so that's kind of what determines that factor for me. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like there's some services and devices we have that with how we're priced, I cannot give a discount on that. And that's just
Yes.
how it is, because otherwise, like by the time I pay someone to see that patient to do it and pay the overhead plus the shipping to get the products here or whatever it may be, ultimately
Yeah.
we're not getting a profit off of that. So it's like, as much as I would love to, I can't.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think people ultimately understand that. And the biggest thing with memberships is that client retention. You're keeping them coming back in your doors.
Yes.
And each time that you have a touch point with the client, you have another opportunity to upsell something else that they may need or want. And so that's important. But I truly think the reason why our memberships are so successful is because of our patient experience.
Yeah.
We strive very much to have a 5-star patient experience that they can't get anywhere else. I have people driving, 2 and 4 hours, from Des Moines and Minneapolis, where they're living in these metropolis areas where I'm like, there's a med spa on every corner. Why are you coming to me? And they're like, because, you're the only person that hasn't dropped my brows, or, you actually treat me like a patient and like get to know me. You don't just treat me like a number and shuffle me in and out. I mean, our
Yeah.
setup, like Botox takes me literally 2 to 5 minutes to inject someone.
Yeah.
But I'm allowing 30 minutes for those appointments because I want to get to know these people. I want to know their concerns, and if they have questions about anything else or any other services that we offer, or want to hear about their vacation that they went on before they were here last time, and those kinds of things. We really value the relationships that we make with our clients, which I think is very important.
And I think you touched on a couple things there, so I'm going to try and do them in the right order here so I don't forget either of them, because I think they're both critically important. One of them, especially for me, I'm a big marketing person. That's where my background comes from. And I know that growing a membership base requires effective marketing and effective both external and internal promotion of it. So tell us about some of the tactics that you have used to attract people to it, to retain people using your membership, all of that. Because again, like you said, that is so critical. And especially for you, your geo-targeted radius is massive. In some areas, like you said, it's there could be a med spa in all four corners adjacent to each other, like Starbucks kind of thing, right? Where every single one's got one. What's your, for both of them, I think it needs that proper promotion, proper establishment of how to market it. What's been working for you?
So that is one thing that is really nice about Repeat MD is so, they create marketing material for you, which is great. So that's obviously posted in our facility, outside of our facility. And then there's different like social media graphics that we can use, etc. So we obviously do that, but like my employees know, like every person who comes through our door, they better be told about our membership. That like, hey, this is also an option if you're planning on coming here for multiple services, or even, the easiest one to get them on is the bronze, because generally what people are coming in for is Botox, the gateway drug. That's literally what I tell my clients. I'm like, Botox is the gateway drug. Once you start it, then you're going to want everything else. That's just the beauty of this industry. And so, they'll come in and do that. And I'm like, look, okay, you're getting, 40 units every 3 months when you come in. Well, if you join the bronze membership, you're going to get $2 off per unit. Plus you're going to have almost $300 in the bank when you come in. So like, you're really going to have your talks almost paid for every time that you come in. Plus you're going to get 3 free facials a year. I mean, they're like, what? What's the catch? I'm like, it's a year membership. That's the catch. And they're like, oh, well, I'm going to be coming here anyways, so I might as well get a discount and free facials out of it. I'm like, absolutely. So I think making it a no-brainer is important, but also knowing the financials, obviously. And then up until November of this past year, I actually was doing all of our social media, which is a lot, because I also am an owner. I'm also, the main injector as far as that goes. And so I had a lot on my plate at that point in time. And so was I making videos and stuff? No, because I hate being on camera, to be completely honest with you. I'd prefer to be behind it. And second of all, I just didn't have the time to do that. So I'm posting graphics and, before and after pictures and, education and things like that, which is great. And we grew our organic social media from literally nothing to almost 2,000, which was great. But at that point I was like, all right, I need help. So I ended up getting a social media marketing manager, and she is out of Des Moines, so about 2 hours from me. She's fantastic. Her name is Michaela Marie Socials. So if anyone wants her contact information, please let me know. I can hand it out. But she actually is just another small business, female owned, which I love, of course. And she actually comes to us one day a month and shoots all the content. She comes up with the whole list of content. If we want to change anything, we certainly can. But she has us shoot everything and, records us doing stuff with clients and whatnot. And then she sends it to me for approval. And then she posts everything and it's done. And I'm like, I don't know how I even had time to do that before. So we always make it part of our social media management, on our stories and on our posts that we're posting about our membership at least 1 to 3 to 5 times per month. So we're posting it regularly on our organic social media. It's posted in office. And then oftentimes in our story, we'll have the link for people to sign up. So like we have 100 members, but like I just logged into my admin account and we have actually like 450 clients that have our app. So these are people who on social media have seen it and clicked download and downloaded it. Not that they've necessarily signed up for a membership, but you still can get rewards with our app without being a member. It's based on the number of visits you have. So that's another thing that I like about it is like, we're rewarding you for coming in and getting things done. Where, a lot of them can, if you download an app, it's like, oh, well, I can just get all these things by downloading the app. And it's like, no. In order to get those, you have to come and see us. And so it kind of entices people to come in the door, which is the other nice thing about that. So, but yeah, that's kind of how we have been marketing things. So of course, posting on social media, we're talking about it in office at each patient visit that we have. And then our EMR is nice because we can actually put patient tags on people. So when they check out, we can see if they're a member or not. So then that's like another trigger for the desk to be like, oh, I see that you're not a member. Did you know, like, you would have saved $85 today if you had the bronze membership. And then they're like, oh, okay, what's that? And it's just another opportunity, to go through that.
Yes, yeah. And I know it's prominent on your website too. You've got a page
Very much so.
dedicated to it. You've got it on your, on the homepage. It's right front and center to understand the benefits of doing it and why it's there and how easy it is and what it does. You touched on it as well there. I know we're over time, but I'm not stopping. I told you this might happen
It's okay.
before we started, but you touched on it as well at the start, and there again, there are different types of membership plans. This isn't a one size fits all. It's not like again, there's, as you said, you have it where your membership plan is a beauty bank or like a vault,
Mhm.
or there's different styles. What have you seen out there, and why did you choose the one that I think you've touched quite a bit on why you chose the one you went with, but what kind of examples have you seen out there that maybe also have been or haven't been as successful?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really testify to the success just because I have only done what I've done. And
Yep.
like I said, thankfully I haven't had to change anything, which is great because I can only imagine that
That's a
would be
good
a nightmare.
testimonial on its own right there. Yeah, yeah. That what you're doing works. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have seen other places where it's like, okay, you pay this monthly fee and then that fee is retained by the practice that you don't get to use. But each month you get the option to pick, service A, B, C, or D, and you get one of those, free per month or something of that nature, which is
Yep.
fine. But in my opinion, we live in a society where like we're all busy. We all have a lot going on. We're all spread very thin. And so there's going to be a lot of people that they're not going to be able to commit to come in every month, which again,
Hmm.
from a business perspective, they might be saying, "Hey, that's fine because I'm just pocketing that money." That's great and all, but like you're also losing that potential touch point with your client to say, "Oh, but like you haven't been in for a while. Are you doing okay on skincare? Do you need any supplements today?" Those kinds of things.
Yes.
So to me, the beauty bank is a better option because I want those extra touch points with my clients. I want them to get discounts on certain services because I want them to do those services. I want them to get
Yes.
discounts on skincare because that is mandatory. Like anyone who comes into my building, I'm basically like, "What are you on for skincare? Here's some samples. Try these." Because if you're spending money doing any of these procedures, if you're not on medical grade skincare, you're not going to have longevity of results. You're not going to have as good of results either. And so it's like protect your big investment. Skincare is your insurance policy. And
Yep.
so that's kind of the reason why we went with the option that we did. And furthermore, look at how your business is planning to grow. Are you planning to hire, estheticians or massage therapists or nurses or NPs or docs or PAs or whoever it may be, whose schedule are you trying to build, right? And
Yep.
so for me, at the point of our membership, it was an esthetician. And so it's like, okay, this is a way giving 3 free facials a month. Facials cost you virtually nothing, a little bit of product,
Yep.
right? How do you figure out how much a squeeze is? I don't know. Just rough
Yep.
ballpark. Um, so for me, it was, yes, I'm paying her to do this, which obviously cost me money. And yes, I'm paying for
Yep.
the product. But in the grand scheme of things, if it can retain those people and keep them coming in, what is the
Yeah.
lifetime value of that? And so, like, that's another thing that you have to look at when you're building memberships is, okay, yes, I'm going to give this. And yes, I'm going to make a little less on it than I would normally. But look at the lifetime value of that client. I have them locked in for a whole year coming to see me. What's the
Yeah.
average aesthetic or wellness or aesthetic and wellness client spend in a year? Generally a good one, $3,000 to $5,000 at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you do something like you said, where it's a higher margin, like a facial, and they do their 3 free, and they go, "Boy, I sure love this part of my skincare regimen in my routine." They come back for that 4th, you've recouped those first 3 in the one you've done, right? So it's just
Exactly.
it's sensible to look at it from that sense. Finally, as we're closing off, and I promise I will eventually let you go, Jordan. But I know that again, this is such an amazing topic, and there's so many people. And I think one of the reasons is because I think this is, we both agree, a huge part of the future of the industry. I think we align on the fact that I always like to say this is going to become a little bit of table stakes. Like when people are doing a Google search going, where am I going to go? Or they're making a decision between place A and place B. I think that it's going to be maybe not anytime like this year or something, but in the near future, we're going to see a lot of people where you'd say, well, I'm not going to go there because they don't have a membership plan. I'm surprised they don't have a membership plan. What's your thoughts on that? And do you see it kind of going that way? And again, you're in good shape, but for those who don't have the membership plan, is it time to adapt and plan accordingly?
Absolutely. I think if you don't, so first of all, I think any small business, if you are not innovative, if you are not ahead of the curve, you are preparing for your business to die. Truth be told, you
Yep.
have to be looking at what's going on and what the latest trends are. And, like for instance, this being one of them, but I also feel like regenerative medicine is the way of the future. Easy gel, PRF, Sculptra, biostimulators, functional medicine, all of that is going to be the future. We went from the whole overdone look that people were getting and, oh, I want to be frozen, and, oh, I want my lips to be this big, to now people are finally adjusting to what I generally tell all my patients is we want a natural result. We want people
Hmm.
to say, wow, you look great, but have no idea what you did. That's the goal when you come into my facility.
Yep.
And so I think that is the way of the future. The other way that we really market our membership is whenever we have events, I also do a member pricing and a non-member pricing. So any outsiders, we have probably anywhere from 5 to 7 events a year, with our block party being our biggest event where we have about 200 people that come. And I make it known in all of our pricing, like, hey, if you're a member, you're going to get this much off. But if you're not a member, you're only going to get this much off. And so that again is like another, like, oh my gosh, if I sign up for a membership today and commit for a year, I also get another however many
Right.
dollars off,
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think that's another way to potentially entice people. Um, and that has really worked for us as well. But yeah, so I do truly think if you don't have a membership, you're just leaving money and clients left on the table at this point.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be, again, the membership is that those hooks that you get into somebody, you're going to have a very tough time prying those clients away from somebody else if they're already in a membership plan elsewhere, right? Because they're
Absolutely.
already invested. So they would have to have a really terrible experience, I think, to be like, well, I'm looking for someone new, because they're not going to leave money in a bank or on the table or
Right.
anything like that. They're happy where they are. So it becomes even harder to source new clients for yourself in that sense. So I love your take on that. I think it's amazing. And as you mentioned, that membership, you make it the gift that keeps on giving, right? Where it just keeps supplying more and more value and more reason for you to keep them, keep their routines going, add to their routines, and create that roadmap for them. As we're signing off here, Jordan, we are going to have a lot of people asking to get connected. I know it. They're going to say, hey, great. So I need kind of that little more. You mentioned this and she said about that. And can I dig in a little bit more? I also know that you are incredibly kind and you are a person that loves to give back to the community. So for our listeners, how can they get in contact with you and visit your site and learn more about you to be able to really put this into action for themselves?
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram. It's MedSpa Express JH. And you can always DM us on Instagram if you would like. Otherwise, our email is medspaexpress00@gmail.com. That's another way that you can just send an email to me and I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. The other thing that I think is really important to mention about memberships is this industry is kind of suffering from discounteritis at this point, where it's
Yeah.
like everyone is trying to discount and undercut everyone to get potential clients. And trust me, when I first started, I wanted everyone to be my client, right? I
Yeah.
wanted everyone to be my client. Now I only want the people who are just as invested as me as I am in them. And I want to reward the people who are loyal to me. I don't want to reward someone who has never been to my facility before, give them this great discount, and then they're just hopping from place to place to get another one,
Yeah.
So I think that's another way to look at it and to kind of help the issue that's going on in this industry of you don't have to discount everything.
Right.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can be, thankful and grateful and, help those people that are helping you, which is I will do that all day long. But like, I'm not going to give Susie off the street, $500 off because she's never been here before. Like, that's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's amazing. Yeah. And I think we're seeing that. And that could be a whole topic for us again, right? The commoditization of this industry is incredible. I always like to say, you remember back in the day when you would go somewhere to get your nails done, and then every mall had 3 places you could do it. And then you'd go to a massage therapist to get massages done. And then literally they were popping up in malls where people were just setting up chairs and you could get a massage done. Now you're kind of seeing that same thing in the aesthetics industry where it was like, boy, I had to go somebody who was trained, specialized, and everything else. And now it's sort of like, you can just stop on your way through. It's like drive through aesthetics kind of. You're like, what is happening right
Yeah,
now? And
how
like
did
you
we
said,
get here? How did we get here?
yeah, right. And because it's a fast rising industry and there's margin in certain things, and people are doing that commoditization, race to the bottom, Groupon battle type of thing. Those aren't your clients, right? And I talk about that a lot when I do marketing strategy plans with people. Is it's quality over quantity. Don't get so always hung up on the, wow, how many people are coming through my doors and I'm so busy. There's a difference between busy and profitable. So make sure you're focused on that.
100%.
I think membership plans are really a huge key to unlocking that success. And Jordan, thank you so much, Jordan Harmon, for being here. I know you're extremely busy. You still took way more time than I promised you would have to spend with me today to share this information with the community. I appreciate it. As I said, I learned a ton. It was selfish for me. This was something I needed to know and wanted to know more about for our community. Same story. So thank you so much for joining us today, talking about the membership journey and how you've been so successful.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I can't wait for our next conversation
Yeah,
already.
it was
So
fun.
with that, I'm going to take a moment here to sign off. Before I do, thank you to our listeners. We do appreciate each and every one of you. You know we can't do what we do without you. If you like our podcast, please kindly share it with your friends, your colleagues across social media, and don't forget to write a review on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you listen. It's your thoughts that will help other practice owners, doctors, practitioners find us and bring us more amazing guests like Jordan Harmon. Thank you again. And until we meet again, I wish you all an amazing week ahead. Thanks, everybody, and take care.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Business of Aesthetic podcast series brought to you by our gold sponsor, Equa Marketing. Would you like to join our growing group of aesthetic industry experts and get featured on the Business of Aesthetics podcast? Or do you know someone who would love to share their strategies for growth in the aesthetic business, providing quality patient care or their clinical expertise? Head over to www.businessaesthetics.org/podcast show and apply to be featured as a guest on the show. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen. If you would like to engage with today's speakers or any of our past speakers, join our Facebook group or LinkedIn group by searching for Business of Aesthetics. Thank you and have a great day.